Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Daytona International Speedway as we are getting ready to kick off Season 14 for the Daytona 500. I am Michael Norman, the voice of the Budweiser All-Pro Series, and we are up here at Daytona getting ready for the Daytona 500 qualifying session. I'm being joined up here in the booth by driver from the number 2 out of Penske Racing, Dylan Young. Dylan, Daytona, this is it. This is where you try to set your starting spot for the Daytona 500.
Absolutely, and of course, it's a very important task because of the fact that you never know. It doesn't matter where you start, it matters where you finish. But of course, if you want to get the front row, it's definitely bragging rights, to say the least.
Yeah, it definitely is. These cars up for grabs here. We've got 2 rounds of qualifying. All 46 entries will take time for one lap around the field, for one lap for their qualifying run, and whatever spot they have is where they're going to start unless they qualify in the top 10. That's when the top 10 in the second round will fight for the first and second spot for the Daytona 500. We start things off here with Charlie Buxton. That's right, the 51 car. He won at Auto Club the season finale in that 51 for Rick Ware Racing. So here he is. He's going to be the first car out for qualifying here today. Now, Dylan, talk to us. Just how important is Speed Weeks at Daytona?
You'd be actually very surprised. It is very, very important. Because sometimes where you start, it does really matter, to say the least. And knowing Daytona, it is an inside line track. But you see as how they're doing qualifying, they want to use a run on the high line to start their lap, and eventually they'll work their way down low. You'll be amazed. It is very important because just in case the big one strikes early, sometimes you want to be in the front rather than the rear of the pack, because you never know what could happen. So it's honestly very, very important for qualifying. And honestly, you really want to represent the biggest race in the mall. So it's go big or go home.
Now, Dylan, you were in the Busch Clash just yesterday, actually, and you were working pretty well. You were one of the dominant cars. You saw 3 wide, 4 wide racing sometimes, but were you one of those that wanted to try to preserve your car and use that same car, or were you the one just kind of testing the waters, seeing what your car had for the races like today or the dual races tomorrow?
I would say testing the waters for sure, because sometimes you got to get a really good feel of your car. Is if you don't really get a good feel, then what's the point of really going out there and getting ready for the race? But I can see where people kind of use that other way, to say the least. But if you're one of those guys that's definitely got the full advantage and know what your car's like, why not give it a chance? Because it is the biggest race overall, and you can see a 49.848 for Charlie Buxton there. Decent speed, but we'll see what happens though once we see other cars coming out on the track.
Yep, he sets the pace here. The first car around for qualifying up next, that number 48 for Hendrick Motorsports. That is Cody Lamas. He a 2-time winner back in season 13. Let's see what kind of a lap he can put down here. Now, nobody, I guess, really is locked in unless you're, well, I guess you can say out of the 8 cars. There are 8 go or go home cars, and they are out of those 8 cars, they are fighting for 4 spots. Nobody of those cars are locked in no matter where they qualify, unless, of course, they qualify first or second. And so that's going to make things interesting for the dual race. The higher up you want to finish of the top 2 in each of your dual sessions here. But Cody Lamas getting ready to come around. He's 2-time winner last season. See what he can do here.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. He's really using the low line on turns 3 and 4, really seeing how that car is going to really kick on in there. We're going to see once we get to the line what that time will be there, but
crosses the line here. He pops up. 49.832. Yep, 49.832 for Cody Lamas. Puts him first out of the 2 cars on the racetrack here. And going out.
Say real quick with Cody, because he is a technical hometown hero, so he will be one to keep an eye on for Daytona, because you always got to represent your home track, to say the least.
Yep, and here's one of our go or go home cars now. This is the number 61, a 3rd entry out of 23XI Racing. This is Kenny McCurry, brother of Anthony McCurry.
Yeah, Kenny, he's been known to actually drive before in the past, but Kenny hasn't been around in a while, which has actually been very surprising, to say the least. So it's good to see him that he's in this series, but we'll see how he goes once he gets the gears kicking in. I'm willing to see if he could try to make it in for this race.
True. Now, Dylan, here's a question for you: is as a driver here, do you have are you going for the pole, or are you just going out to set a lap for your dual race? Because, like, are you do you have a race setup in, just trying to see what you got, or are you trying to put a qualifying setup in just to see what kind of speed you can get?
I would say go for the pole, man, because that's probably one of the most important things when you're at Daytona. You got to set an example right there. But of course, if you're a driver like Kenny, you got to make sure you have a good valuable speed to really go out there and showcase on the laps. And right there, he beat Cody and Charlie right there.
Top of the board for our first go or go home car. That's Kenny McCurry, 49.826, and you can see some of these lap times are pretty close together.
Yeah, nothing really too crazy. 49.8's been the big target to say the least. Will we get anything in the 49, or excuse me, the 49.7s? I mean, we'll see. You never know, but it may be a trend where we'll see a lot of 48.8 there.
Up next here, new driver of the number 19 this season. This is rookie Carson Gum. Signed up and landed here in Joe Gibbs Racing, and it was we didn't get to see him in the clash at Daytona, but I think Seth Cole during the clash said it best. This year we think he'll see the breakout of Joe Gibbs Racing, because in season 13, all of Joe Gibbs went winless.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to say the least. And keep in mind, Carson is actually one of 4 rookies in this series that will be going on by when we take the green flag this season. So a lot of eyes will be on the 19. So we'll see the other 3 when they do the qualifying efforts. But Carson's got a really bright future. I like what he's doing. He's a part of a very great team. And with his lap, beats out Kenny.
Oh, by 1,000th of a second, 49.825 for Carson Gum, and he's currently the one sitting on the pole as we get ready. And Dylan, I think you'll be all too familiar with this car coming up next,
Yeah, gee, I wonder who that may be.
right? One of the more dominant cars of the Busch Clash yesterday, Dylan Young, out on the racetrack, and we'll see what kind of a lap time he can put down. By the way, ignore those rookie stripes. Dylan Young, 2-time champion of the Budweiser All-Pro Series, certainly is not no rookie.
Yeah, don't let them stripes fool you. He's definitely one heck of a driver, to say the least. And, you know, the beginning of the time, he definitely had struggled a lot. And then once season 8.1 came around, that's where you really got to see his stride. Finally, he just got every bit of motivation to really kick in. And he hasn't looked back since. So it's good to see him actually get a lot of good momentum and finally get some good retribution, to say the least.
Who drifted up a little bit in 3 and 4, couldn't hold it exactly on the bottom of the racetrack. We'll see what kind of a lap that's going to give him here.
Yeah, it's
As
going to hurt him a little bit.
being around the bottom of the racetrack is definitely where you want to be. Crosses the line, 4th fastest out of 5 cars at a 49.846.
Yeah, you see that drift, and you were right. That definitely hindered him a little bit there, but there's still plenty of cars that are going to qualify. So we'll see what happens as it goes on by throughout the event.
Speaking of Dylan, here comes Dylan Poteet, the next driver out onto the racetrack, and for driving for RFK Racing here. He's a brand new scheme, going with the Violet Defense scheme this year.
Yeah, it's kind of weird seeing Posey in the 6. You're normally used to seeing him in the 31, but this year, a bit of a twist. So it's good to see that he's a part of a new team, and we'll see what happens along the way. I do love the scheme, though. It is absolutely amazing.
Yep, that's absolutely true. Going down the back straightaway, some of these cars not staying exactly. Sorry, I had a pop up there come up, and by that I mean a text message on my phone. Some of these drivers you see running not exactly on the yellow line, because you actually gain a little bit of momentum, not always keeping it directly against the yellow line, and we'll see what happens here as he crosses it. 4th fastest, 49.841.
Yeah, he beat out Dylan Young there, just not by a whole lot, but you could see, like I mentioned before, they have been very, very close. There hasn't been one driver that has really stood out the most. It's been very, very tight. So I don't know if we'll get a driver that will obliterate the times, but it could be possible, though.
Here we go, another one of the go or go home cars. This is a 3rd entry out of Front Row Motorsports, a nice little throwback scheme. This is Robbie Gilvin, kicking it back to good old Ricky Rudd. We'll see what kind of a run he can get down the back straightaway here. Again, see, kind of in the middle towards down the back straightaway here, just a little bit. We'll see what kind of run he can get.
Yeah, you see, you want to be on that low line, not directly on that yellow line go into the apron there, but you want to be as low as you can. And you can see that that's what the 28's doing right there. Get some good momentum off the corner. Let's see what he gets coming down to the line.
To the checkered flag. Wow. First of the, he's on the pole right now, but a 49.803.
That's a very impressive lap right there. But you could see he definitely was doing a good job coming off that corner. And exactly right as I said there, just use that low line as much as possible. Don't go too low, but you can see he's top of the board right there.
Here we go. Up next, a fourth entry. I believe we'll see the third entry out of RCR here a little bit later. But right now, this is Cody Vaughn making his Budweiser All-Pro Series debut, driving that fourth entry out of RCR. And we'll see what kind of
really a lot of much is known about the driver there, but still though, he can make a very big impact because you never know what these drivers that randomly come around, they can always bring some presence into the series. And you know, it's interesting that the way how he's driving the car, he's using that low line, head to the middle before entering turn 3. You could see there now coming into turn 4, not really showing a heavy amount of speed, but he's doing pretty good so far.
coming to the line here.
Let's see what he gets here. Oh, I take back what I say.
Second on the board, a 49.811. Not that far off of Robbie's time, but second on the board so far. And as you can see, listed in red are the go or go home cars. And Carson, being a rookie, has the R next to his name. That's yellow.
Yeah, a lot of keep an eye on there with that board. And of course, you know, you can see drivers in white, they're veterans. So that's not really a surprise. But here comes the next car coming out on the track. And I believe that's the 16, I think that is. It says 16 or
Yep,
7?
that is the 16 of Anthony McCurry switching over from RCR over to Colleague Racing.
Now, Anthony, we've known him very well. He's been a good road ringer there, but don't count him out in the super speedways. He's always been very well known to just be the silent but steady driver there, and his super speedway presence really shows no matter what there. So that 16 really can play a benefactor in this race for speed weeks.
Yep, absolutely. Coming through turns 3 and 4 now. Trying to keep the momentum with him. Let's see what kind of a lap time he can get here. Checkered flag. Ooh, second. 49 point.
Yep, top 40. 3, 809, 810, 811. Just all separated by 1/1000 of a second.
No, actually, each. First place is 803.
Oh, 803. Oh, my apologies. The text is small there. So, but second and third by 1/1000.
Yep. And here is another. Here's another go or go home driver. This is Dylan. You should be familiar with this guy. Well, I think so. Yeah, he's been around here a little bit. This is David White in the 55 for MBM Motorsports, set to make his Budweiser All Pro Series debut.
Yeah, I was very surprised that he managed to get into go home, let alone be a part of the series. So it's good to see him out here. As far as racing wise, we haven't seen him anywhere big time out there, but this is like first time we're seeing him in the offline presence, I guess you could say. But I'm very intrigued to see how he's going to be doing in this race, or let alone for the qualifying effort. But so far, he's looking pretty good there.
Looking pretty good going through turns 3 and 4. We'll see what kind of a lap time he can get. Coming to the checkered flag. Right now, crosses the line.
Off the front straight.
Ooh, second, 49.809.
I think I spoke too soon when I said the 809, didn't I?
Yep, absolutely. Well, we've had 10 cars go out. We're going to step aside, take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more qualifying. Dylan, go tune on your race car, buddy. See you later. Back here for Daytona 500 qualifying. As you can see out on the racetrack, it is Matt McIntyre, rookie this season in the Budweiser All Pro Series, driving the number 17 for RFK Racing. Being joined up here in the booth this time with the driver of that number 24, Seth Cole. Seth, it's a pleasure being up here again. It was fun for the clash, and here we are for qualifying.
And get to do a little bit of observation here of what the rest of the field's going to be setting for their qualifying laps, kind of lines they're running. Maybe learn a thing or two up here. But yeah, Matt McIntyre out there. You mentioned a rookie. He's got obviously quite a bit of experience, just not here in the Budweiser All Pro Series, and got a good teammate to be able to work with. We saw Dylan Poteet in the 6 car very strong in the clash. So I would say watch out. I think both these Fords are going to be tough when the green flag drops.
One lap of qualifying. Here he comes across the line. We're going to see where it pops up as soon as our leaderboard pops up here. There it is right there. 7th fastest overall of the 11 cars out there.
A tick quicker than his teammate Dylan Poteet by about 2/100. So it looks like both those RFK cars very similar in terms of how they're set up.
Yep, absolutely. Here comes out next. It's Trent Dunham in the 1 car, and we all know that Trent's Daytona luck here in offline racing.
Yeah, and I don't even know what we really attribute it to, right? I mean, is it bad luck? Is it poor qualifying? Not the greatest of track position? I don't know, but maybe here he can get things turned around.
We're going to see what happened here, Seth. You see the times up on the board. Drivers in red are our go or go home cars, and right now, 2 of them on the front row.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they know the situation, right? They know that they're going to have to pull out all the stops to make their way into those go or go home slots. There's only a limited number of spaces and a couple of drivers. They're going to be going home. So it all starts here today. As Trent, that lap looked really good. He looked really steady there through 3 and 4. Let's see what Camaro points in at. There you go.
Top of the board.
Yeah,
49.79.
Up on that double yellow line through 3 and 4.
Wow, the first driver to break into the 49.7s. Barely, but he got there, knocking Robbie Gilvin off the pole. And, another interesting fact to say is that none of our go or go home cars are locked into the race unless, of course, they qualify on the front row. So, doesn't matter really where you qualify here for our go or go home cars. It's you got to finish the top 2 in your respective duel to qualify into the 500. Now here comes the 99 to Charles Sanford.
Yeah, back to back for the Trackhouse cars. So you got to think that Charles Sanford must have been made aware of the lap time his teammate Trent Dunham just laid down. We'll see if he can replicate that. Little wide off a turn 2 there, but let's see if this 99 is as hooked up on the bottom as the 1 car was. Not quite. No, he's about 6 inches there off that yellow line. Looked a little loose through 3 and 4. It's interesting too because people look at these qualifying sessions like, oh well, they're just going fast, turning left. No, you can see the type of things that can gain or lose you speed. And well, still a decent lap.
Yep, 6th fastest.
500ths off of his teammates. So I think if he might not have had that little push up there in 3 and 4, he would have been a little bit closer to those 49.7s.
Absolutely, and out on the racetrack, here comes a new driver to the Budweiser All Pro Series. Bit of a late minute entry for Hendrick Motorsports here. This is Ben Oliveira, I believe that's how you say his name. In the number 9 Napa car, let's see what kind of a lap time he could put down.
Formerly driven by Jovan Anderson. I believe that this is the only new driver out of the Hendrick camp here, with myself in the 24 still, Kyle in the 5, and
Cody in the 48.
Cody in the 48, right? So we're gonna be taking Oliveira under our wing and trying to help him in his way through here. We know that it's a fast race car. Jovan Anderson proved that with some good runs last year. We'll see what he's able to do this point in time in qualifying. Looked really good there through 3 and 4.
Let's see where that Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet will end up. Crossing the line. 7th.
Highest of the rookies that are locked into the show, just barely besting Carson Gum.
That's true. About tied, same lap time as Charles, but as you know, tiebreakers are usually by whoever ran them first.
Right.
Up next, Cole Deaver out on the racetrack. New scheme for that number 3 Bass Pro Shops out of RCR.
Beautiful scheme there. The black and white and what would you call that? A rust orange? No, not really even a rust orange. Too bright for rust orange. I don't know. I don't know what you'd call that. That's
It's definitely an orange, that's for
it's
sure.
an orange. We'll go with that. It's
Yeah.
definitely flashy.
Definitely, it's interesting to see how he runs. RCR running 4 different cars in the Daytona 500 this year. You've already seen Cody Vaughn go out earlier in the 01, fifth on the board right now. I believe this is the second RCR car.
And don't forget, RCR is the defending Daytona 500 winning team. Anthony McCurry drove for RCR in the number 8 last season.
And then the season before that, Cole Deaver in the 3 won the Daytona 500 as well.
There you go. So they're on a streak.
Cole Deaver crosses the line. 12th fastest. He must have a race setup in.
He must definitely have a race setup in. A lot of these drivers, like we see all of these go homers up there, Gilvin, White, Vaughn inside of the top 5 so far. They're obviously set up for good starting track position for the duels. But to your point, you look at the drivers like we just saw, Deaver, Poteet, Young, Buxton. They're more than likely getting ready to have good handling race cars in the duels.
That's very true. As up next, another RCR car. This is Joey Stats, formerly drove in the Budweiser All Pro Series way back in its early seasons, making a one-off return here for RCR in the number 33.
Going to be the 5th of our go home drivers. It's interesting because you kind of wonder, are the go homers, are they just focusing on the other go homers, or are they looking at themselves overall in the field? Because they, to be honest, they don't have to worry about the other drivers that are locked in, because that's not really going to determine whether they make the show or not. So you got to wonder in terms of qualifying where their benchmark really is. That looked like a pretty good lap there. Yeah. 3rd place.
Yep, 3rd place for Joey. And he's under the 810s too.
Yeah, 807.
Not bad. Besting David White just by 200ths of a second. And now we have a driver returning to the Budweiser All Pro Series after a 1-season hiatus. This is Marcus Schuenberg driving the 42 for that racing for, I can't remember, Legacy Racing Club, I believe that's what it's called nowadays.
And a former winning car last year with Bobby Frazier, ended up making the playoffs.
See what kind of a run that 42 car can get.
Oh, I was going to say that 1 and 2 was looking really good, but he touched the apron just a little, about 2/3 of the way through the corner. See if that scrubs off any speed or not. That was about the best hooked car I've seen so far there through 1 and 2. Little off the bottom there in 3 and 4. And of course, there's so many different factors that come into play in whether your lap time is going to be fast or not. Maybe the most important of all of them is the launch you get on your warm-up lap. We see all these drivers up there against the wall. That could be a mile or 2 per hour difference.
7th.
Oh, I honestly believe that would have been somewhere up there in the region of 2nd or 3rd if he hadn't touched that apron over in 1 and 2.
Yes, absolutely. It definitely might have been just the slightest mistake will cost you a lot in a qualifying run. Up next, we have another rookie out of the Front Row Racing stable. 3 cars for Front Row Racing this weekend in the Daytona 500. Robbie Gilvin on 2nd place right now, had the pole for a while until Trent Dunham came along. So we'll see where this 38 car can go.
It's interesting too. You take a look at our leaderboard right now, and there's a lot of Chevrolets up there, but you've got that Ford of Robbie Gilvin you were talking about. So it always kind of seems like in pole day qualifying, one manufacturer really steps up to the plate, and a lot of those machines are up inside of the top 5, top 10, sometimes sweeping the front row to start in the poll for the respective duels. We still got quite a number of cars to go out there, but interesting to see if anybody can kind of stop the stranglehold of the Chevrolets up there right now. Robbie seems to be the only one representing for a non-bow tie manufacturer.
Yeah, let's see what Dylan can get as he crosses the line. 4th.
Nice lap. Eyes there with Joey's stats. Joey just a couple of cars before, so if it had been roles reversed, Dylan would have actually been in 3rd place and Joey would have been 4th.
Just want to point out, too, Dylan Matthews, Kyle Matthews, no relation.
No relation. Nope.
Up next, we have one of our final 4 from last season. This is Nathan Ormond. New scheme this year on the 23.
Playoff contender from last season as well.
See if you can get it hooked up. Looks pretty good there on the inside.
Trying to look and see who's our highest Toyota right now. We had a Toyota go out yet? No, I don't think we've had a Toyota go out yet.
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
Carson Gum.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep.
I think he's our highest. Pretty sure he's the highest Toyota right now. He's our only Toyota, I believe, that went out.
A little high there through 3 and 4. Did Carson, or not Carson Gum? Wow, Nathan Ormond. And well, he'll be above the 10th place cut line at least. Drops Oliveira out of the top 10. And how about this? The defending Daytona 500 winning car, Reggie Fogelman.
Yep, Reggie making a switch over to RCR this season after driving the 20 car last season.
Yep, winless last year. We'll see if a little change of scenery is going to help him out.
Coming down off into turns 1 and 2 here. Seems pretty good right now.
Got a number of those RCR cars that were up at the top of the board there, like Joey Stats.
This would be the, I think would be the 3rd RCR car out there. He crosses the line. 13th. Bad 13th on the board there. As we now swap gears over to another one of our final 4. This should be Jonathan Zorline in the 41, staying where he was at over there at Stewart Haas Racing. Well, Seth, as he takes along on his lap here, I just want to let you know, thank you for joining me up here in the booth. I'm not too sure if you're, how much longer you're going to be up here, because I know you do got to get ready for your qualifying lap here soon. But I just wanted to take the chance to shout out and say thank you for joining me up here.
I appreciate it. I'm encouraged with what I'm seeing out of these Chevrolets. I think that our Liberty University Camaro is fast, and hopefully I can just hold a pretty wheel. I know the team's worked hard on the car.
All right, well, let's see where Jonathan Zorline is going to end up with his qualifying run. He comes across the line. He's going to be 8th fastest, 49.811. Going to tie Cody Vaughn, but because Cody did it first, he gets the 8th spot. So we're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back with more action.
Warning. The Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next-gen
car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Back here after a commercial break for qualifying out on the racetrack. This time it is the number 10 returning driver Zach Rogers to the Budweiser All-Pro Series. Signed a one-year contract with the number 10 for Stuart Haas Racing. Still being joined up here in the booth by Seth Cole. And Seth, turns out you're going out a little bit later than you thought, so thanks for staying.
Yeah, I mean, get an opportunity, get a little bit more observation going on here, and get to watch the driver fueled by bacon.
Yeah. Zach Rogers coming back, getting to see exactly what his car can do. It's going to be interesting to see if he's set up for a race or if he's set up for qualifying.
Well, we just before that commercial break saw another of the Stuart Haas Racing cars and Jonathan Zorlin out there set a pretty good lap time, currently up inside of the top 10. So yeah, to your point, we'll see if the Stuart Haas Racing cars are all set up the same or if they've kind of split off, with a couple of them set for race pace, a couple of them set for qualifying pace as clocks in. See what our
Ninth.
telemetry says. Yeah, so
1 to
wow,
1,000.
look at that. I think they're set up pretty equally.
Yeah, the 1,000th off, and that might have been just one little spot on the racetrack, too.
Yes. It could have even been the get up to speed lap. Could have been that slight little bit of difference. Who knows?
All right, up
Maybe
next.
Getting up through the gears a little bit better.
Up next, our defending Budweiser All-Pro Series champion, Laura Chung.
Looked really strong in that clash earlier on this week. Getting used to the difference between the Ford Mustang, which she won the championship in last year with BJ McLeod Motorsports, now to the Toyota Camry out of JGR, and kind of trying to give JGR a little bit of a lift. That entire team went winless last season.
I don't know, Seth, during the clash, you called it. You said this is going to be the year for Joe Gibbs.
I really feel it is. You look at their roster here this season. Semet Oskin's still over there. They bring in the defending champ in Laura Chung, a former winner last season, and Jessica Shelton. I really think that this is going to be a very, very strong Joe Gibbs racing team.
All right, well, let's see what we've got. Laura Chung officially clocks in as she crosses the line. 11th. Which is not too bad.
No,
Not too bad.
Technically 10th, because there's the tie there, but by virtue of Schuenberg going out first, gets that 10th position.
And
Honestly, I feel if your car is set up for race pace, as long as you're within maybe 2 or 3 100ths of the pole time, I think you're in pretty good shape. I'm looking down there to Matt McIntyre. I'm pretty sure that number 17 was set up for race pace, and he's only right now a little bit less than 300ths off of Trent Dunham's lap, which obviously he set up for qualifying. I don't necessarily know if maybe a headwind for drivers like Cody Lamas on down, maybe they have a little bit more work to do, a little bit more tweaking to make their cars a bit more aerodynamically fast in the draft. But right now, I'm not seeing anybody that absolutely looks like they're in immediate danger right now, that they're going to, when the green flag drops for their respective duels, they're going to be like lagging at the back of the pack the entirety.
Well, up next here, Kyle Matthews on his qualifying time. We're going to see where he comes in. Seth, you want to pay attention? This is your teammate right here.
Yeah, I mean, we've already documented last year the hardships that he had in that number 5 car, so maybe the new colors, maybe the Valvoline colors will change his luck as,
10th
look fast
fastest.
right there, yeah.
10th fastest, 49.813 for Kyle Matthews. Gonna wait and see now where he's gonna end up. Totally out of line, and here comes another Joe Gibbs racing car. This is, as you pointed out earlier, Sema Oskin making the switch from the 11 to the 18 this season.
And, there's going to be a little bit of changes that Samadaskan's going to have to go through, despite still being with the same organization. There may have been a little bit of shuffling of personnel, but I'd be pretty certain that they probably kept the 18 pit crew with the 18 car. Formerly, they serviced Jose Mills last season, now going to be servicing Samadaskan, so he's got to kind of get to know those individuals, gain their trust, all that team chemistry that goes into it.
Coming through turns 3 and 4 now. He drifts a little up. I'm noticing a lot of these cars getting a little tight in 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? People would think that Daytona is kind of a cookie cutter racetrack, but it is a lot easier to hook the bottom over in 1 and 2 than it is in 3 and 4. It's kind of a bump over there in the entrance to turn 3 that you have to avoid.
14th fastest on the board out of 25 that have gone so far.
But again, right there in the same kind of ballpark as teammate Laura Chung.
Joe Gibbs kind of hanging out together. And here comes another playoff driver from last season. This is Benjamin Miles supporting a new scheme for this season. 23XI Racing.
Last season as well. We had both of the 2311 cars make the playoffs last year with Ormond and Miles.
This is going to be...
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say this is going to be very interesting to see because they have 3 23XI cars. We saw Nathan Ormond. He's 13th. Kenny McCurry was one of the first ones to go out in the first session or during the beginning of this. He's 19th on the board, so we'll see where Benjamin Miles can qualify here.
And I was going to point out as well, you've got Nathan Norman in 13th, but look who's above and below him, the Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. So you've got a cluster of them 12th through 14th. We'll see if Miles is going to be in that area as well.
We'll see what happens. He's coming to take the checkered flag here. Third.
Okay, I guess not. I think that car's set up for Q. The rest of them might have been set up for race pace. That's the highest running Toyota right now. We got Chevy, Ford, Toyota, top 3 at this point in time.
Yeah, he would have qualified second, but obviously the tiebreaker here as we switch gears. Another rookie for the Budweiser All-Pro Series. This is Charles Belding taking over the 15 for Rick Ware Racing.
We've already seen Charlie Buxton go out right now, last on the board. So we'll see if this other car out of Rick Ware Racing can improve on that position. Yeah, I think Trent Dunham's got to feel good about that 49.7, right? It's going to be very difficult, I feel, for somebody to be able to topple him from the Daytona 500 pole.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's going to have to be a flyer of a lap. It's got to be picture perfect if you're going to challenge him for that.
Gonna wait and see coming out of the corner. Coming to the line. See Belding.
24th. At least we know. Yep. At least he knows he'll make the show.
True.
Not a whole lot of speed, at least right now. It doesn't look like in comparison to the rest of the field out of the Rick Ware Racing cars.
Yeah, that is very true as well.
Keep an eye on this guy.
Here we go. This is Daniel Voiles supporting a scheme that I think even you like.
I absolutely love the Wendy's car. Granted, I loved this Wendy's car, and then we ended up seeing Legacy Motor Club when Noah Gregson moved over to their team this year. It completely outdo even this scheme with the Wendy's car he drove in the Daytona 500. But I think we really got to keep an eye on Daniel Voiles. You pointed this out back at the Clash, a former winner of a dual race back last season. And one thing I observed from him in the Clash was he was one of the few cars that when he got out in front, he was able to stay out in front. Very good at controlling the draft. I will not be surprised to see this car maybe even outside the top 10 in speed right here on this run. I think they should have kept that car from the Clash, the race pace that he's got, because I think that that's going to be a big key in him being up at the front in the 500. So let's see if they stuck with just the race setup they had.
They
Yeah,
did. 16th
I think
fastest.
I think that's exactly what they did. They didn't care about the qualifying. They know that is a solid piece when it's in the pack.
Absolutely, and I kind of can't wait to see him in the dual races as well. It should be very interesting as here we go. Up next, I believe this is the final Joe Gibbs Racing car to hit the track. This is Jessica Shelton making the move over from the 10 of Stewart Haas Racing.
We saw Shelton have some hardships in the clash. Didn't even get to take the green flag. Still kind of uncertain all of what it was that drew her to pit road, and she ended up finishing way, way, way back behind everybody else. Didn't finish a lap down, but never got a chance to know what that car was like in the draft. So I kind of go back to what I said about Voiles. I'm gonna reverse that since Shelton didn't get any opportunity to get any draft in the clash. Why not kind of throw everything you've got at this 20 car and set it up for qualifying? But that was a very interesting line there on the back straightaway, almost right up against the wall, and a little high here of 3 and 4 as well. I don't think this is going to be quite the lap time she's looking for.
I don't think so, but we also got to remember Jessica Shelton surprises us at like every turn.
True. Wow. Yeah, that's I don't know if the back straightaway was the issue, but definitely almost a car length off the inside line through 3 and 4. Not going to be all that good of starting track position for the upcoming clash, I don't think.
You mean dual races?
The dual races, yes.
That's right. Switching
Those
gears.
dual races can feel like a clash, a mini clash sometimes.
Right. I mean, for real. Here we go on the track right now. This is the 77 of Christina Bell.
Former winner from New Hampshire last year, was in the playoffs. Fire Motorsports had a great showing overall for a team last year with Christina Bell and Madeline Crenshaw. Crenshaw, one of the most consistent drivers during the course of the entire season, made it into the Final Four. But it's kind of seemed like, in terms of the Super Speedway program, the 7 has trumped the 77. So we'll see if Christina Bell kind of get a little bit better at Daytona, Talladega this season.
Well, we'll see what kind of a run she has here. Madeline Crenshaw set to go out a little bit later right now as the 77 comes to the checkered flag. 10th. Actually, theoretically 8th.
Yeah. Three-way tie. Wow.
And I feel like we're going to see a lot of that here.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Happens all the time in Daytona 500 qualifying. And so, there's kind of the benefit and the detriment if you're one of the first cars to go out, because you don't have the opportunity to observe the race cars and see what kind of tweaks you can do to make yourself a little bit faster when you eventually go out. But at the same time, kind of in the case there of Cody Vaughn, he was the first driver of the 3 between himself, Zorlin, and Bell to go out there, set down that 811, and so anybody else that ties that lap time, he's going to trump them. That's why he's currently sitting P8. So, some drivers like to go out there early, some drivers like to go late.
Well, Seth, this should be a blast in the past for you. The 3rd Trackhouse Racing entry for the Daytona 500, making his qualifying attempt and return. This is Charles Jackson.
Yes, indeed. Charles Jackson, very well-known driver in the NR community, and we know that the Trackhouse cars have been fast. I mean, Trent Dunham top of the board. And let's see where that 3rd Trackhouse car is.
13th.
I think Charles Jackson might be a driver that should feel very confident, although he's a go-or-go homer, of making it into the Daytona 500 field, because Charles Sanford, his car looked really good in the clash, and Trent Dunham, we know, very fast here in qualifying. So he'll have some very speedy teammates to be able to work with, provided they're all able to maybe be in the same duel. That they're going to have to hope that the way they line up right now, probably based off of Trent Dunham, is that they all end up being in odd numbers once qualifying's completed.
That's very true. He's up next, Allie Rain in the 14, again, for Stewart Haas Racing this season.
Allie Rain, our Clash winner, just a couple of days ago. So, yeah, riding some good momentum here. Of course, a former winner last season, but was not high enough in the points to make it into the playoffs. And see if she can keep the momentum going here during speed weeks, and maybe see if she can challenge Trent Dunham for the pole position. Right now, highest running Ford, Robbie Gilvin, the go-homer in second place. And then not a whole lot of Fords anywhere else up inside of the top 10, with the exception of Jonathan Zorlin there in the ninth position, I mean.
Here we go, coming to the checkered flag. Allie Rain crosses the line. 19th on the board right now, 49.823. We're going to go ahead, step aside, take another quick commercial break, and be right back with more action. We are back here for qualifying. This should wrap it up here. Just about 14 cars remaining. Michael Norman here. Seth Cole went back to the racetrack as he's getting prepared to qualify his race car. But up in the booth, we have his crew chief, Christopher Pierce, up here. Christopher, thanks for coming up.
Yeah, I've done all I can do. Now it's up to Seth to go out there and try and see if he can set down the lap time. We've got the car prepared to deliver for him. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what he does here, along with the rest of the drivers in this this final segment. Henry Sanford out there on the racetrack, new team for him, the championship-winning team out of BJ McLeod Motorsports. Henry Sanford last year drove for Penske Racing, so he's still in a Ford Mustang, just a slightly smaller team.
Yeah, we're going to wait and see where Henry Sanford qualifies as he comes to the checkered flag. We'll see where it pops up here. Henry Sanford, 13th on the board.
And it was interesting, kind of watching the coverage here before I came up to the booth, and was watching the 14 of Allie Rain out there moments ago. Kind of feel that maybe she, much like Daniel Voiles, they didn't make many changes to that race car between the Clash and here in pole day qualifying, just going out there setting a lap time, but keeping that thing pretty well preserved the way it was from the Clash, because obviously that thing was pretty fast. Took us to school. I mean, we thought our Chevrolet Camaro number 24 was going to be fast, and just couldn't seem to hold a candle to the 14.
Yep, up on the racetrack right now. This is the other Spire Motorsports car. This is Madeline Crenshaw, another Final Four playoff driver from last season. Had a bit of bad luck at Auto Club. Just it took her out of the equation pretty early. But let's see what kind of a lap time she can put down for her second Daytona 500.
Madeline Crenshaw, I recall in a number of our super speedway last season, the 2 Daytona races and the 2 Talladega races, was a driver that accumulated an awful lot of stage points. So runs up front in these super speedway races.
Crosses the line, and she is 15th on the board. Theoretically 14th, but tiebreakers.
About 4 1,000ths off of her teammate Christina Bell. So both the Spire cars right around the same area. Good lap times for both.
Switching gears here, now we come to William Brock in the 47, the guy who almost was a 4-time winner last season. We'll see what he can do for JTD. Is it G or D? I can't remember.
It's G, yeah.
G. JTG, just like the former wrestler. JTG Daughtery Racing, who actually went to victory lane in the real Daytona 500.
They did indeed. And correct me if I'm wrong, William Brock was the only 3-time winner last season, so has that to be able to have on his resume. And got to think this season, same car, same driver, same mentality. The only difference is let's go out there, let's get all those wins, but let's actually make the playoffs this season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm being told here by our Budweiser All Pro Series race director that due to some time constraints, there will not be a second round of qualifying. So if Trent can hold off, he can earn himself the pole as the 47 comes across the line here, 19th fastest.
And I echo what my driver Seth Cole said earlier. I'm going to be very surprised if anybody ends up getting that one car. I know that R24 is fast, but that was a flyer lap. I don't know if they got a tailwind down the back straightaway or what it was, but I mean, look at that, and 4 1,000ths over the next car for the pole position right now. That people may think, well, that doesn't seem like much. In super speedway racing, 1,000th of a second is huge. So 4 1,000ths, my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely. As up on the board now, on the racetrack, he formerly drove the 15 last season, only wants to do a one-off appearance this season. This is Charles Buxton in the number 44.
Another of our go or go home drivers. Got some big names here for the go or go home drivers this season, right? Charles Jackson, Joey Stats, former driver in the Budweiser All Pro Series. We know that Robbie Gilvin and Kenny McCurry and David White, they've got a lot of experience in the NR 2003 community. So, it's going to be really interesting to see how all these drivers stack up in the respective duels as
16th
there.
fastest.
Yeah,
16th fastest.
single car race team, NY Racing.
Not too bad for Charles. I'm sure he'll take it. He's still got to try to make the Daytona 500 though, and we'll see what happens. Here comes James Qualls.
So here's the funny thing that I'm noticing right now. Obviously, this is going to change, I think, with the drivers we've got still yet to come out on the racetrack. But every single one of our go or go home drivers at this point in time would all be in dual race number 2.
And that would be fight at that point would then be fighting for 4 spots instead of just 2.
That'd be so weird.
Can you imagine if they end up having like two in one race, or and it's like, oh well, dual race number 1, you're locked in no matter what.
Pretty much, right?
At that point, yeah. And that could happen. That's just how qualifying works.
I feel like James Qualls, this 34 team, they're going to get a victory this season, if not a couple. They were very consistent near the end of the year. I'm trying to remember exactly what track it was. I think was it New Hampshire, where they were up inside the top 5 fighting for that win?
It was Indianapolis, I believe.
Or Indianapolis, you're right. Yeah, definitely were a player in that one. I felt like a couple of checkered flags got away from them last season. Ooh, that's a good lap time there for that Ford, though. That's the first time in a while we've seen anybody jump above that 10th in the 10th in the running order cut line, 4th place.
Yeah, not bad too. And his teammate Dylan Matthews to a 1,000ths faster. So.
And what that just did was it moved everybody, with the exception of Robbie Gilvin, into dual race number 1. So the scenario you were talking about, Robbie Gilvin could be all by his lonesome in the first dual race.
Yeah, but if he stays right there, he'd be locked into the race no matter what.
That's a good point. He'd be on the front row for the 500, yeah.
Cole Baker, second season for the Legacy Motor Club, driving the 43 again. Same sponsor.
Really good in the Clash. Has been very good at the super speedways. Most notably, Talladega last year had good runs in both those races.
And we'll see where he can qualify down the back straightaway. I noticed that a lot of these drivers don't run exactly on the yellow line on the back straightaway, but I think that's just to help them for the turn in 3 and 4.
That's exactly the reason. Another reason, too, is if you turn hard left off of turn 2, you run the risk of maybe sliding the right rear, and that can lose you some time. And then definitely, you want to have that slightly wider access into turn 3, so that way you can kind of use the banking to your advantage.
Oh, 4th for Cole Baker.
We getting some cloud cover here or something? Because all of a sudden the speeds are picking up. Qualls with the 805, Baker with the 804. Huh.
And again, knocking out as here comes, this is another playoff driver, Roberto Crown Jr., driving the number 31. Same team, different number.
Yeah, kind of the same deal as what we saw with Samet Oskan, right? Still with Joe Gibbs Racing, but over with a different car. Same deal here.
His
Roberto
team
Crown Jr., 2-time winner last season.
On the super speedways.
Exactly. I was just going to mention it was both those wins were on the super speedway. So you got to think that he's definitely one that a lot of people are going to be looking at when the green flag flies here later on this week.
Not only that, his teammate Anthony McCurry is still inside the top 10. So we'll see what kind of a run that Roberto Crown Jr. can have.
And we'll see if there is actually a little bit of cloud cover, the cooling this track down, and if he can kind of keep up the same increase of lap times that we've seen the last 2 drivers be able to set moments ago.
We'll have to wait and see. Ticker disappears here. I think we might be having a slight issue with this, so we'll have to wait and see. We can see if our Budweiser All Pro Series officials can work on that here. But I think that was a pretty decent lap for Roberto Crown Jr. We'll have to wait and see, as we're going to switch gears here. Also on the racetrack right now, well, here's your driver, Christopher.
See if Seth Cole can get it done. I'm gonna analyze this run here. I'm gonna critique the heck out of him. He'll hate me afterwards, but see right there, get that nice swing wide down to the yellow line, do the entrance of the tri-oval. About a car length off of the bottom before he gets into turn 1. Pretty good right there. Pin down. Ooh, gotta be careful. That paint can be a little bit slippery if you get the left sides down on it with the double yellow line, but that looked pretty good there. Maybe a little tight 2/3 of the way through.
I don't know. Did you guys go with the qualifying or did you stay with your race setup?
Oh, we definitely went with the qualifying setup for this one. We want to get that good starting track position. We were in traffic a good portion of the clash, and just didn't feel like the car was handling all that well. So we decided to go with trying to start up towards the front in the 500. As everything looked pretty good without maybe a little tight off of turn 4.
See what happens. I put them 16th fastest.
Got some work to do.
Well, I mean, theoretically, it would have been 14th, but of course, the tiebreakers have you down to 16th. I mean, that's still not too bad.
That's not bad, but it's not what we were shooting for.
Yeah.
It looked fast, but you know.
Another one of our go or go home drivers.
Money team.
I believe, don't quote me on this, this is Emmanuel Hartnett.
And I believe you are correct.
Gonna have to wait and see here.
Well, somehow, in the span of everything that happened with the last 3, 4, 5 cars, all our go homers are back in Duel 2. This
Yeah.
is weird.
Well, gonna have to wait and see what happens. I believe this is Emmanuel Hartnett. I again could be wrong. I don't have the stats in front of me like I should. But we'll have to wait and see where this number 50 car qualifies for the Team Money Racing.
Car looked a little tight. Wasn't really able to hook the bottom there through 3 and 4. And gonna
Crosses the
clock in
line.
at
9th, yep, and I was right.
Wow.
It was Emmanuel Hartnett.
Imagine if he had actually been able to hook 3 and 4, that would have been maybe a lap time that could have knocked Robbie Gilvin off the front row.
Now we have what? 4 cars now in duel number 2 or duel number 1?
Right
Something
now
like that?
we have 3 cars in duel number. Or no, actually no, you're right. Yeah, 3 cars in duel number 1, and the rest in duel number 2.
As RJ Bishop takes the green flag for his
No,
one lap
let me
around
reverse
here.
that. Let me reverse that. 3 in duel number 2, the rest in duel number 1, actually.
Well, we'll see if RJ can upset that yet again.
RJ Bishop was a driver that was very, very strong in a number of races last year. I honestly think that Phoenix was a place that we kind of had him pegged as one of the drivers that were the favorites to win.
Nashville, too. He almost won Nashville, but I think field strategy got him in the end.
And if I recall correctly, too, in last year's Daytona races, he was one of those cars that could get out to the front and actually control the draft as well. So we'll see if maybe they brought the same car here this year.
35th.
Ooh, wow. Penske cars have a little bit of work to do, right? Dylan Young, you don't see him on the list because he's actually down below the 35th position. Ooh, I don't know about that one. That's
They've definitely got some work to do on their
They
setups.
definitely do. Little worrisome, but then again, too, we got to remember at Daytona, it's not about where you start; it's where you finish. As long as you've got a car that's good in the draft, you can make your way forward. You just run the risk that you might end up getting involved in the big one as you're making your way up to the front of the field.
Well, that's true as well. Nick Gunther on for his lap here. Nick surprised us with a win at, I believe it was the Roval. I think it was Charlotte Roval at the end of the season last year.
Well, if you know Nick Gunther and his road racing prowess, it's not a surprise.
Yeah, for real. It's a road course, not a big surprise.
Not a big surprise. Wood Brothers, of course, have a very storied history here at Daytona as well. So, no doubt, Nick Gunther would love to be able to put this photographed Ford Mustang in victory lane at the end of the week. And 35th. Well,
35th.
I mean, remember too that team it gets a lot of its resources out of Penske Racing, so kind of down there still with Dylan Young and R.J. Bishop. So apparently all the Roush, or not the Roush cars, the Penske cars, kind of similar. This is going to be an interesting one, right? Because Matthew Rodriguez spent pretty much the entirety, like the first 75% of the clash, just running at the back. Why
Yeah.
did he do that? Did he maybe have a car that was already set up for qualifying and he didn't want to get up there in traffic and tear it up? Or was he just experimenting? I don't know.
I think he was just experimenting, honestly. You never know with Matthew Rodriguez. He probably put a setup in and doesn't even realize and doesn't even remember what it is.
You know, you could be right. They might have put a road course setup in that car and he's just out there like, yeah, this thing is fast. Well, he hooked the bottom very nicely there in 3 and 4. Look at that. Let's see about off of turn 4. Does he keep the wheels straight? Oh, this could be a good flyer lap. Keep an eye on your board here because I think Matt Rod might be up inside the top 5.
Let's see where he qualifies. Yep, 5th.
There you go.
For
That
it.
was
Well, technically it would have been
Beautiful 3 and
4th.
4.
It would have technically have been 4th.
MBM Motorsports, that single car team. I'd be very happy with that effort.
Couple of
All right,
cars
well-
left. I think we've reached our final 2 at this point, maybe.
Let's
This
see if
is Levi McIntyre.
kind of be the silver lining in the gray cloud of the Penske cars here today.
That's true.
Or
We'll have to,
none of them any higher than 36th.
Yep, we're gonna have to wait and see here. Tell you a bit small story. Levi acquired this ride in a last-minute change due to the previous driver's actions that were detrimental to the racing channel. So Penske tapped Levi to come out of retirement from the Bud All Pro Series and drive the number 22.
Formerly Henry Sanford in the number 22
Wow,
last season.
Look at that! Look at that! Right on the
That
yellow
looks
line.
good. Ooh, little slip up there to the center. This is looking very similar to Matthew Rodriguez's lap. I think this is going to be right around what Matt Rod ran.
Let's see. Second.
Wow.
Almost. He almost got Trent Dunham's time.
Do we have a camera down on pit road? Because Robbie Gilvin has got to be throwing his hands up in the air like right now saying, what? That was my golden ticket to the 500. Now he's got to worry about the duel.
Yep, and this is our final driver to take time, Zachary Fitzwater. The last car, I guess, would be the last Stuart Haas racing car as well.
Indeed. Yep. Stuart Haas racing cars, they looked pretty good. Jonathan Zorlin, Zach Rogers right now, just inside of the top 20. Fitzy's got to be looking for a good year, right? He really struggled last season, it seemed.
Gonna see what he can do in this 4 machine.
1 and 2 looked okay. Maybe a little slide off the second corner. Took the bottom. Ooh, got close there to the apron, but that's about as low as you can go without getting out of shape. Front row may not be set yet, Michael. I think this 4 car's got something for it, possibly.
Let's see what we've got. He's gonna come across the line. 10th for Fitzwater. Theoretically,
with Stats and Matthews, and look at that front row. A guy that has horrible luck at Daytona, and a guy that just came out of retirement.
Yep, and then there's the full official Daytona 500 qualifying standings. It's a lot of cars with some work to do, and it looks like there's only 2 cars in duel number 1.
David White, you're in the 500.
Yeah, yep, Robbie Gilvin, David White, you're a lock in the Daytona 500.
Wow.
And there's going to be, I think it's 6 cars racing for 2 spots in duel number 2.
Yep.
That's going to be very fun to watch and make things very interesting. Well, Christopher, have fun. Go fix your race car, and we'll see you.
Work on it.
Yeah, I say, and we'll see you in where are you at? Duel, where did you? Duel number 2.
Duel number 2, yeah.
All right.
Oh, we got all the go or go homers racing around us. That's going to be chaos.
Yeah, well. All right, man, thanks for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and give us our sign off here. Thank you guys so much for watching. The duel should be out starting tomorrow, and we're going to see who's going to officially qualify where for the Daytona 500. Congratulations to Seth Cole and Levi McIntyre. We'll see you guys
I tried
until we
Donovan
meet again.
Levi McIntyre, you mean?
Yep.